Hello, Yoga Moguls. Welcome to the August 2021 Yoga Mogul Mastermind. To be honest, I had a specific agenda for our call today that I created literally 3 days ago. And this morning, I had to change it all up again because of COVID. Delta variant is, because of that, I feel like we have to make changes and pivot as we go. I think we didn't expect for the COVID to come back. I certainly didn't. And I just want to take a couple of minutes right now to address that things are shifting again. And we, as business leaders, as business owners, must pivot and stay ahead of the curve, so to speak. Um, I always say anticipation is power, and you, as a business leader, must anticipate what's to come to the best of your ability and kind of lead the change instead of just being in reaction and just reactively taking steps um, in response to whatever is happening to the best of your ability, if possible. So, with that, I just wanted to remind you, that this is the time right now to remind your community about your hybrid offerings, about your online offerings, and things like that. It's just important to communicate that. It's not that people don't know, but they forget. I mean, they have their own lives, they have their children, marriages, careers, work, health concerns, et cetera, et cetera. So your job is to remind them, hey, I know times are uncertain right now, but we do have classes online, and here is the membership, and this is how you can access that. So I would encourage you to communicate that to your community right now through emails, through your social media posts, etc. So that's one thing. And just know that things will need to shift a little bit, and you will have to pivot because we don't know what this Delta variant is going to do. I'm certainly pivoting as I'm leading my retreats abroad. And in my retreat center, people have already started canceling their retreats. People have already started canceling their reservation on the bed and breakfast side. So I just know that things are going to shift in the next couple of months. And it's possible that people will cancel their membership and things like that. So it is important to prepare for what is coming. I mean, I always expect a miracle, but I also take steps in the physical world to anticipate what's to come and just be ahead of the curve as much as possible. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. This is what I'm seeing happening. People, like this morning, 5 people already canceled for our Italy retreat. And even though it sucks, you know, things in other words, just people are canceling everywhere. And I'm sure you're experiencing in your businesses as well. So what do we do to pivot as much as possible and stay ahead of the curve? So here's what I propose. Um, Generally, in normal times, without COVID, and this is going to be amplified now with the Delta variant. Generally speaking, the fall is when attendance tends to go down. And I always remind you that your attendance and your revenues always go hand in hand. So if in normal times, right, in great times, attendance goes down in the fall naturally, because look, kids are going back to school, people are getting into the swing of things, into like the normalcy of their schedules. But also down the road, we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, and people are busy with other stuff. So they tend to not to come to yoga. They tend to not just do their exercise and self-care. This is just the curve. And now with the Delta variant, I have a suspicion that it's going to be even more so. So, as a leader of your business, it is important to anticipate what's to come and take steps right now, create strategies right now for what's to come down the road. And when I refer to down the road, I mean 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road. You know what I mean? And my job is to remind you and hopefully inspire you, give you some ideas on what you can do in your business to anticipate that change or stay ahead of the change. So I know from my experience, what is very effective is a community event. Um, and you know what, before I go into the details, I just want to remind you one thing. Like every day, well, every time before our Yoga Mogul calls, I asked my husband, who was my partner as we ran our 7 yoga studios. I always ask him like a couple of days before, I say, hey, if you had a yoga studio right now, what would you do? What would you recommend for other people to do right now? And what he did is he reminded me once again that these days, yoga is everywhere. I mean, you go right and left, there are yoga studios everywhere. Everybody seems like is a yoga teacher these days. So, how is your offering is different? How is it different, right? And before I talk about what we do in the fall to amp up the attendance, I just want to put this question to the forefront of your attention, because this is a question that I encourage you to ask yourself all the time. So, if yoga is being offered everywhere, what is your unique offering? And the answer to that question, in our opinion, is yoga in our opinion is an experience, right? It's an experience, it's a feeling, it's an energy, it's something beyond just the classes and beyond just the space or a beautiful yoga studio. It's that feeling, energy, and connection that keeps bringing people back over and over and over again. So let me just and not only a feeling, you know, it's a combination of things, several things kind of bundled up together that creates this experience that makes people want to have more of that and come back again and again. So let me run sort of a metaphor to that. So my husband and I, we have a date night every week. No matter what, we always go on a date night every week, and we've been doing it for since the kids were born, so now what, 13 years. And now we live in Austin, so we always go to Perry Steakhouse, and sometimes we, you know, vary it up, but usually our go-to is Perry Steakhouse. Why do we go there? Well, first of all, the product is consistent, so we know what we're going to get, so it's not a surprise, right? The service is exceptional, and it is consistent as well. The ambiance, right? It's a beautiful place. And then lastly, what we make out of it, right? The energy that we create as we, you know, go on a date night together. So because of all these pieces, we go to Perry Steakhouse over and over again every single week. So let me run that parallel. I'll just run that parallel with my yoga studio, Yoga One, right? We had 7 yoga studios, was very successful business. So why did people come back over and over and over again? First of all, we had a consistent product, right? We ran that business for over 10 years. And Raja and I personally trained every single teacher on our team. It was that important for us. We had a group of people who only did, so to speak, quote unquote, quality control, meaning we always went to people's classes to ensure that the consistent offering was there, right? So the product is important, and I'm also going to emphasize the consistency of your product is important. So there is not a huge, you know, variance between this person's class or this person's class. So consistent product, I think it's a no-brainer. You have to offer that. But also the uniqueness of the experience we delivered at Yoga One was, it was always fun, right? We made it fun. We emphasized, we cultivated the fun element of it, um, consciously, deliberately, and mindfully. And of course, human connection is something that we also mindfully cultivated in our yoga studios. So it's that element of fun, human connection, inspiration, and friendship was something that we worked on, we created, and that was the secret sauce that I believe sets us apart. So before you do anything else, I would ask you, what is your unique offering? And it is usually something beyond just the yoga classes. It's something that you cannot quite put your finger on. I'm talking about from the client's perspective, but as a studio leader, as an owner of your business, you are creating that something that people cannot quite put their finger on intentionally and deliberately. Am I making sense? So it doesn't just happen by accident. It's something that you create as a leader of your community. For us, it was always fun, connection, inspiration, that energy feeling that we created through everything that we did, our offerings, our community events, our challenges, the people that we chose to hire, the language that was spoke in our team, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to emphasize that before I went to the next topic, which is the fall, right? The fall is usually when the attendance goes down because people are busy with their kids starting school, taking them to all the activities. The fall is usually slow because of Thanksgiving, Christmas. Moreover, with this Delta variant, I have a suspicion that we're going to have to deal with it for the next couple of months at the very least. So what I invite you to do is, from my experience, I know that community events are really, really powerful. And here are some ideas. I believe the community event needs to be something hybrid, right? It's one element of it is in person, but also a big element of it is online on Zoom, especially now with the Delta variant. What do I mean by that? So a community event, whether it's back to school challenge, whether it is a gratitude challenge for November, but let me just give you a big picture. So the way it works, kind of like 10,000 foot view, is you create a powerful community event in the fall, something that will get people back to your yoga studio, whether it is in person or virtually, right? To create that connection again, to put yourself out there to the forefront of their attention, to remind them, hey, we're still here, come back, practice self-care, feel great, etc., etc. So a community event is something that is interesting, that will inspire them to come back to your yoga studio, whether it is in person or in Zoom. But ultimately, what you're doing is you engage with people. So you're prepping them, you're priming them, so that you can have a powerful holiday sale, which I always recommend. That November Black Friday Thanksgiving sale is your biggest sale of the year, which would be your annual pass sale. And then that kind of funnel, right? People are not just going to buy out of the blue whenever the time comes for your annual sale. You have to prime them. And that community event not only increases their attention, not only it gives you an opportunity to engage with your community, but you're also priming people for that annual sale that you're going to roll out in November. At least this is what we've always done at Yoga One, and it has always been very, very, very successful. And I say this all the time, but $1 million sale, we created that $1 million month in the month of November, when we did a community event. We primed our community, our clientele, with a back to school challenge, gratitude challenge, and then we rolled out a big sale. And that big sale in November carried us through the holidays, Christmas, when attendance and revenues tend to dip, and it carried us all through the beginning of the year when attendance is up, revenues up. Am I making sense? I'm kind of giving you a bigger picture why we're doing it. So again, I see most of you are, look, I acknowledge this is a very stressful time, but what I also see you guys do, you're kind of putting out fires right now, and you're only dealing with what's coming up today. And I want to remind you that you, as a business leader, you have to anticipate what's to come. Your job is to create a strategy, look down the road, what's going to happen 2, 3, 6 months down the road, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years down the road. And in this particular case, I suggest, this suggestion is also based on my own experience, you create a community event to prime people up for a holiday sale. So what is this community event? Like I said, some ideas can be back to school challenge, can be gratitude challenge, things like that. And of course, Roger just wrote a book just for that, 21-day love revolution. It's a book, it's a program. It's not just a book, it's a program that he created, we created at Yoga One, just for that, a fun, powerful community event that gets people inspired, connected, gives them something very specific that they can do. So you just follow that blueprint, so to speak. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to reinvent the content. Roger's book Love Revolution already has all of that information. And if you're interested in checking that out, it's on albinarippy.com. Under I think it's under free Love Revolution. All that content is free, including the book. You can download it and check it out. This is just a couple of ideas what you can do, and of course you can create your own. But I would recommend something not like at least 2 weeks in duration, but ideally 21 or 3 weeks, 21 days or 3 weeks in duration. That is a sweet spot for a program. 1 week is too short. It's, you blink and it's over. But in the 3 weeks, it's something that helps people to recommit, stay connected, and also gets people who are coming on board a little bit late still, enroll those people and give them an opportunity to participate in this kind of event. So ultimately, what is a community event? It's an opportunity for you to connect with your community, right? Do yoga in person or do yoga online through our, hybrid offerings. Is an opportunity for you to have like weekly meetings where ultimately what I'm trying to say, without getting into the nitty gritty of it, is that element of human connection, right? That element of human connection needs to be a live interaction, whether it is in person or on Zoom. And now with the Delta variant, I say it needs to be both, right? So you interact with people real time, you inspire them, you support them, you give them an opportunity to connect with each other, not just you and your clients, but on Zoom, for example, you can send them to the breakout room so that they can connect. People crave human connection, and now that the Delta variant is going crazy again, people are probably going to retreat back into their homes, most likely. Again, this is just an opportunity for you to say, hey, you don't have to feel alone, you don't have to feel isolated. Here we are, our yoga community is here to support you. So you always add that element of human connection, inspiration, and an opportunity for people to interact with each other. That is important. I just want to emphasize again, this is the experience that you're offering that is beyond just yoga, beyond just the physical practice. That is that secret sauce. That's something that I cannot quite put my finger on, but it is something that creates an experience, right? That is something that sets you apart. And this organized, well executed community event gives you an opportunity to do that. So right now we're in August. I would suggest doing a community event in October or November. And in order to powerfully execute it, you'll need to start creating it ASAP right now. So a community event usually, like I said, it can be a challenge or anything like that, but it usually has a couple of elements, right? So it's always a movement, body movement, because in the end of the day, if you're a yoga studio, ultimately you are selling yoga classes, right? So it absolutely has to have an element of body movement. It has to have an element of what I said, that human connection, right? Either it's weekly meetings where you as a community leader get up in front of everybody and provide coaching, inspiration, maybe meditation. It's just mental health element to that. Do you know what I mean? And in the past with Yoga One, we always gave opportunity for our teachers to also step up and shine. It's not just Raja and Albina leading these things, but also invite your teachers to participate and lead as much as possible. So it's beyond just you as a leader. That's how you create that community and connection. And absolutely, the people need to interact with each other, not just you telling them inspirational stuff, but them connecting with each other. That is that experience that brings them back to your studio over and over and over again. And then what I like to add personally, it's a nutritional element. In the past, I've done Whole30 events. In the past, we've done, when we had a juice bar, we also had juice cleanses, we had juice fasts. We had fruit fasts as well. So through that element, we were selling our juices because we had a juice bar, but you don't have to. In other words, you can have like I just led a retreat in my place in Taos in April, and it was medical medium cleanse. It was a 4-day medical medium cleanse. It was all, people were doing juices, smoothies, salads, and things like that for 4 days. And many people, pretty much everybody reported it was life changing for them. So something like that, so something that is, gives them something organized, well executed, formatted in such a way that they are inspired to participate in that they're all committed and we're doing it together as a community instead of you just doing it on your own. Does that make sense? So I highly recommend a community event, a challenge, something like that in the next couple of months. And once again, you're doing it to prime your people to get to the forefront of their attention to ultimately successfully execute your annual sale in November. That's why we're doing it, especially now that our attendance will tend to go down. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to remind you of is that I interact with many of you regularly, and what I see happening, not all of you, but some of you are focusing on getting your old people to come back to the studio. And we've been in this pandemic for 18 months now. And, I'd like for you to shift your focus a little bit. And I've said this before, I'm just going to remind you again. Look at it as two audiences. So you're targeting two different audiences. One group of audience absolutely are your old clients who haven't come back. And for that group of audience, I encourage you to give them an irresistible offer. So no longer look at them as your old clients that you're trying to bring back, which they are in a way. But you have to offer them an irresistible offer as though they were coming to your yoga studio for the first time. Some of the things that we've done at our studios, and I'll just give it to you as an example. It's just an example. You can come up with your idea, which can be much, much better. But what we did is every 6 months, we let people come back on our intro offer, which was 30 days for $30. And we gave them an opportunity to sign up for autopay as though they were brand new clients. Let me give you a contrast. Usually in the yoga studios, if somebody was your client, they don't get that intro offer special the second time. It's only a one-time deal. What I'm saying is give your old clients who haven't come back to your yoga studio an irresistible offer as though they are the new clients. It can be something special, something that is targeted just for them, whether it is 30 days for $30 or some sort of class pass sale or a special on autopay. I don't know what suits you, your pricing strategy, your model, your capacity issues at your yoga studio. But I want you to think of your audience as two distinct groups of people. Like I said, the old clients who haven't come back, in a way, these are the people who are easy, right? They already know who you are. They already know what a great job you do, but you need to give them an irresistible offer to bring them to the studio, back into the studio. And then another group of people are the people who have never been to your yoga studio. And that is I mean, both of the addressing these two groups of people is always an ongoing process, right? In good times and in these challenging times, but especially so. Targeting the audience who has never been to your yoga studio is important. And it is absolutely important for new people to come into your yoga classes, whether it is in person or online. Targeting these new people is very important. And I feel like I'm a broken record. I'll keep saying it over and over again because it is that important. Yoga industry generally is a very low retention industry, high turnover industry, meaning if 100 people, new people come in, usually an average yoga studio retains only less than 10%, 10 people out of 100. Do your math. It's a very, very low retention rate. If you're kicking butt, your retention is 30%. Our retention was 30%, but usually for most studios is less than 10%. Just think about it. Out of 100 people, less than 10 will become your members. Less than 10. So if you just look at the numbers that way, that means that you need to ensure that a lot of new people are coming into your doors, into your online offerings, into your community events. So I want you to expand your focus to always dedicate some of your resources, some of your attention, some of your, I mean, resources, money to attract a new audience. And again, I apologize if I'm sounding like a broken record, but it is that important. And just to remind you, some of those ideas, you can be like, bring a friend to the studio, something that is an organized challenge, right? Create, offer some prizes like, you know, uh, free month of yoga or win an annual pass. Like doing that challenge, bring a friend to yoga can be that powerful, because the most effective form of marketing is word of mouth marketing. So if you get your loyal clients to bring a friend to yoga, whether it is a real life class or a virtual class, and somehow incentivize them to do that, it's a very, very powerful way to reach that new audience that has never been to your yoga studio. And I always say that social media is a very, very powerful engine if you know how to use it. Um, Facebook, Instagram ads, things like that. If you know how to do it, do it. Dedicate some of your resources for that. Hire somebody who does a great job with Facebook and Instagram ads. But I have some videos for you that I've created in the past that you can launch your own ads with, creating a lookalike audience based on your existing audience. It's a pretty easy way to set up those ads. But again, that is very, very, very important. Making sure that new people come to your yoga studio, and also making sure that you are tending to and giving your attention to your loyal fans, the people who have been with you for a very long time, or people who have been with you, but for some reason, whether it is COVID related or challenges, being laid off work, et cetera, who haven't been back to your yoga studio. I think it is important for you energetically, mindful, intentionally, create a strategy and work that strategy, execute that strategy to bring those people back. That is all I had for you guys today. Like I said, I needed to change my agenda slightly, and I can actually drop a part of what I wanted to say, because in Delta times it may be different, but since we have some time, I'm happy to address that. And again, just 3 days ago, I thought things were getting back to normal. I thought, oh, this is the time, like, oh, I can just exhale and things are getting to be normal, um, steady at least. And now with this Delta, I don't even know what's going to happen. But I'll just go ahead and mention that so you have it at the background of your mind, to keep that in mind, because I think these things that are intended to speak about today are important. And it is a difference between a strategic action plan, your strategy, versus day-to-day reactivity, which I see a lot of people simply in reaction. And I understand, right now it's a very challenging time for all of us, and yoga studios especially. And I understand that you need to do what you need to do to survive right now. But I also want you to think about strategy as well. Because the way you not only survive, but thrive long term is when you have a brilliant strategy, and if you execute that strategy on a very high level. So let me just mention a few things. One of them is schedule. I apologize if I sound like a broken record. So what I see some of you are doing is your schedule is currently reflecting or your schedule reflects your current demands, versus a schedule, a strategic schedule that will ensure memberships at your yoga studio. This is two different things. Let me give you a real life example. So I see of you offer only morning classes, let's say on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, which I've been around, over a decade in this industry to know that that kind of schedule reflects current demand. Most likely you had afternoon classes and attendance in those classes was low, and you cut them off the schedule and you only offered morning classes. This is a reactive schedule. And what I mean by that, hear me out. I understand, like, maybe you don't have the resources right now to offer the classes. I totally get, like, with the COVID environment, things are kind of up in the air. You have to do what you need to do to survive. But I want you to have this in the back of your mind, because we're going to get through this. And I need you to look down the road. Only a brilliant strategy, well executed strategy, is going to ensure long-term success for you. Versus, hear me out, versus a schedule that gets people to sign up for your recurring membership. Which means if I come to your yoga studio, I want to have an option to come into your yoga studio early in the morning before work. I want to have options to come at lunch. I want to have options to come in the evening after work. Even if I never get my butt up early enough to come to a 6 a.m. class, psychologically, I want to have that option in order for me to sign up for auto-pay membership. So ultimately, your schedule, your full schedule, is not really addressing the need of your current audience. But ultimately, a strategy is such is that people look at your full schedule for all the options, and that is what makes them want to sign up for auto-pay membership. Am I making sense at all? So they want to be able to come to a yoga class on Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, even if they never do. In order for them to sign up for auto-pay, they want to see that option on the schedule. They want optionality. And ultimately, you want people to sign up for auto-pay membership, not class passes. That is the secret sauce to your success, right? So just consider that as strategy versus reaction. And you want to have a strategic schedule that ensures, because remember, all the pieces fit together. So that's strategic schedule that gets people to sign up for your auto pay membership is what you essentially ultimately want. Here's another one. I have a long list, by the way. Random class offerings versus strategic alignment when it comes to offerings. This one is important, especially some of you guys are brand new to this industry. You may not know, or you may not have thought this through, but this is what I'm here for. Like, I'm here to give you an opportunity to pause and think things through. So if you're offering random classes, what do I mean by random? Oh, I have, belly dance classes, and I have Ashtanga, and I have power flow, and I have hot yoga, and I have booty yoga, and I have Anusara yoga, and I have this yoga and that yoga, laughter yoga, which may sound like a great idea, but it's not a strategy. And hear me out when I say that. A strategic class offering is different than just random yoga classes. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but it is that important. Let's say you offer Ashtanga yoga once a week, even if you offer it twice a week. And I come to your Ashtanga yoga and I fall in love with it. I really love the practice. We all know that Ashtanga yoga requires a 7-day or minimum 6 days a week practice, right? If I get really into Ashtanga yoga, I am going to find an Ashtanga yoga studio where I can practice Ashtanga yoga 6 times a week. What did you just do essentially? You just marketed an Ashtanga yoga studio down the street. Am I making sense? So the reason why our studios were so successful is because our class offerings were very intentional. We literally only offered 3 things: hot yoga, flow yoga, and fusion, cardio weights, bar fusion classes. That's it. We had a schedule of 500 classes a week across 7 yoga studios. We had thousands and thousands of clients coming to classes. We only had 3 class offerings. I mean, 3 types of classes. Am I making sense? But it was all strategic. Our teacher trainings were only around flow classes, hot classes, and then we had a separate teacher training for the fusion classes. That's it. So if only 3 things on the schedule, so the people who came, they came for those 3 things. As a matter of fact, if I were to dig into the data, I'll tell you, there were some people who only did hot yoga. There were some people who only did flow classes, and there were people who only did fusion classes. And our schedule had those 3 class types every single day, different time slots. So people, if they wanted the fusion classes every single day across 7 yoga studios, they would have that opportunity. And that's why they signed up for autopay. All the pieces need to fit together. Do not offer random stuff on your schedule. Sorry for being so blunt. Here's another one. I can go on and on about this. And I'm kind of trying to make it like extreme for you so you see the contrast. Let me give you an example of a contrast. Social media presence and email communication that is only intended for sales blasts versus consistent inspirational content. It needs to be both. If you're only sending emails to sell stuff, if you're only posting on social media to sell stuff, in this day and age, unfortunately, people will unfollow you, unsubscribe from your email, and unfollow your social media postings, versus consistent inspirational content that people engage with, that people read, that people comment on, that people look forward to. I know it's a lot of work. Ultimately, your social media presence is going to convert to sales when you are offering a consistent inspirational content, not just posting whenever you're selling stuff. It's both. Am I making sense? It's both. It needs to be both. A good ratio in my experience, or at least in me, 3 inspirational posts, 1 sales post. 3 inspirational posts, 1 sales post. Mix it up a little bit, but don't just send emails that are only selling stuff. If you're sending an email, provide a content that is inspirational and engaging so people read that content. Am I making sense? So that alone is a full-time job. And then I'll just say one more thing: strategy versus reaction. And again, I just want to say, like, these are, look, if you're in stress and if you're putting out fires and if you're in reaction every day, you simply don't have any bandwidth to think about strategy. I totally understand that. And in order for you to have a thriving and successful business, you must think about strategy. You must create a brilliant strategy and you must execute it. You're not going to survive if you're just putting out fires every day. Ultimately, that is the secret sauce to your studio success: not putting out fires, but creating strategy. And the biggest element, I mean, all of those are important elements to in the recipe, but the biggest ingredient is auto pay versus class passes. Ultimately, in the end of the day, you want an auto recurring memberships. That's what you want, not class pass sales. In the end of the day, it's going to be a combination. What the ratio you go for, it's up to you. At Yoga One, my businesses, the reason why we had so much success is auto pays were 70% of our revenues. Everything else was only 30%. That means the credit cards of my clients, of our clients, were on auto renew every month. And whether or not they were coming to yoga, they were paying for yoga. So it enables you to take out seasonality out of your revenue streams. It enables you to have consistent attendance. And remember, attendance and revenues always go hand in hand together. So ultimately, the strategy is every single element in your yoga studio needs to be targeted around one goal, which is auto pay. So your class offerings, your sales, your community events, every single element of your business needs to have one goal in common, which is convert people to auto pay. That's not to say that don't sell class passes. Of course, there will be people who will never commit and they'll only buy class passes. Absolutely. But the pricing on those class passes needs to be higher. And look, I have, if you go back to the archives, I have so much content about the numbers, the pricing strategy, how to create that strategy in such a way that psychologically it's a no-brainer. Why pay 25 classes, $25 a class on a class pass when you go to yoga 2 times a week per class, it's like so low on your auto pay membership. So the math needs to work out in such a way that it is a no-brainer for your clients to sign up for auto pay. And then another piece of it is communicated in such a way that it is clear for your clients that auto pay is the best option on the menu. There is a capacity issue that goes in it. But ultimately, I just wanted to bring it to the forefront of your attention, that I believe, and again, it is an opinion, but it is an opinion that is rooted in 10 plus years of hugely successful yoga business, is that your ultimate goal is get everybody signed up on auto pay. Just put it simply. Does that make sense? So whenever you are offering sales, keep that in mind. Let me look and see if there is anything else I missed from today. I think this is it. Um, Hang in there, guys. Surely this is going to shift. Surely, there's COVID and Delta variant. Surely at some point we're going to move past through this. And again, as a business owner, you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to change. I'm pivoting and changing as I'm leading my retreat center, my bed and breakfast in Taos. I'm pivoting and changing pretty much every single day. Um, I'm also looking down the road and making decisions in anticipation of what's to come. I'm making decisions in such a way to keep my team safe, my clients safe. So, I mean, what's that saying goes? To that person who much is given, much is required, or something like that. You are the owner of your business. You are the leader of your community, and you need to step up to the plate. So hang in there. If you have any, you know, individual questions, please reach out. Roger and I will do our best to assist you in any way that we can. We're happy to give you our opinion, some coaching, um, to the best of our ability. I love you. See you next month.